Last week in Japan, when I was at the mobility show, we saw some amazing things from Mazda. The two concepts, we had the Vision X Coupe concept as well as the Vision X Compact concept. The Compact to me was more interesting, even though we're unlikely to get it. It just looked really fun, really cutesy. And it kind of reminded me of a Fiat 500. All right. But, I couldn't get hands on time with the Vision X Coupe concept. It was gorgeous, but pretty heavy conceptualized. Who knows if it'll come? And then I was lucky enough to get hands on with the CX5. So the Mazda booth was super popular over in Japan. But when I got back to the States, I saw that, sales have taken a turn for the worse for Mazda. They're just coming off a best year ever in the United States, all-time sales record. Now we have to battle tariffs, or I shouldn't say we do as consumers, we have to pay more. But the manufacturers absolutely have to battle tariffs, and Mazda imports all their vehicles save the CX-50, which is built in Alabama. All right, so tariffs are going to hit them pretty hard here, and they were positive on the year until October, and where they saw a downturn of a third less of the sales compared to last October. They only sold 25,000 units versus last year's 37,000 units in the month of October, so 12,000 units down. And as a result, Mazda's down on the year. And, I'm not going to cover Subaru. I just think Mazda's the big one here, other than Toyota on the other end, reaching far above what the industry is averaging right now. Mazda is falling like a brick. So I pulled up sales, and we're going to go through these sales today. If you're a Mazda fan, hit the like button. If you want Mazda to succeed, let me know down below in the comments. Mazda reports October sales results. We had the exact same amount of selling days in October as last October. It is the second best October for the CX-50, and it should be, or maybe the best October, but market's changing a little bit. Not tariffs aside, the market's changing, but because of the tariffs, the CX-50 is going to be continually selling really well in the United States. They're not even sending them to Canada anymore, so they can avoid as many tariffs as possible. Okay, so let's get into the spreadsheet in terms of sales. What is Mazda working with here? Well, the Mazda 3 seems to be all but dead at this point. It just got extended maybe for another model year, but look at the sales numbers. Okay, minus 23% on the year, minus 60% on the month. What is happening? Well, the Mazda 3, I would say most of them come in from Mexico. And the tariffs from Mexico are seemingly worse than the tariffs from cars coming from Japan. So we have a huge choice from Mazda to not produce a whole lot of these and therefore not sell a lot. Also, as much as I like the Mazda 3, it's becoming less and less competitive. No hybrids, hard to get manuals, which I know, man, that's just me speaking. Manuals is not what the market's asking for, but hybrids are, and Mazda's doesn't have anything there. Also, they're really small. The Mazda 3 is really small for its class. The packaging's a little off. It's very tight. The windows are small. I feel claustrophobic in it. I know I'm bigger than the average person. Where's the Mazda 6? All right. Where's that Vision X Coupe concept to come in? All right. It's just nowhere to be found. Rest in peace, Mazda 6. MX-5 Miata. Big downturn here, minus 45%. And it's up 17% on the year though. So why is there a huge downturn? Well, I'm gonna see what's going on. I want to see availability of Mazda models in my area. Mazda 3, just 173 units, pretty freaking low volume there compared to Sentra, Civic, Corolla. MX-5 Miata only 52, but it's a very niche product. So I think I would actually go out on a limb and say, wow, MX-5s, guys, this is what's happening. The market's cooling down so much that an MX-5, look at these MSRP drops, $2,000, $4,000 MSRP drop, $4,000. Maybe I should sell my motorcycles and get in on a heavily discounted MX-5 at this point. I know, I don't think I could do that. If I had endless money, I would have a bunch of cars and motorcycles anyways. MX-5 though, prices are dropping. Let's look at the Mazda 3. What's the market looking like on this? Obviously, the volume is not good. Price drops, $3,000 price drop here. Okay, so the market is not buying what little stock seemingly of what there is on the Mazda 3. If there's discounts to be had, that means there's not enough demand, but not the same sort of discounts we're seeing on an MX-5. Ooh, MX-5 all day. Let's get back to the sales report. Mazda CX-30, huge downturn. Even though it got extended for another model year, it is really long in the tooth at this point. Too much plastic black cladding on around the vehicle, around the bottoms. All right, many of you would agree with that. CX-30 down 37% on the year, but it's getting worse. It's down over 50% on the month. Going back to availability, CX-30, I mean, availability is pretty good on this. 480 in my area. That's pretty high. Look, a $5,000 price drop, $1,000 price drop here. No one should be paying MSRP for a Mazda at this point. Look, that $6,000 price drop's crazy. $3,000 price drop here. All right, so that's a problem with the CX-30, is that it's way too expensive starting out. Okay, they need to be priced in the mid to low 20s to be competitive. All right, because they have the CX-5 and the CX-50, which are bigger and better vehicles in my opinion, just for me, right? Because these, like the CX-30 is really small, like the Mazda 3. Anyway, so discounts to be had on the Mazda 3. Let's go back to sales here. Even though the sales are down for the Mazda 3 and CX-30, inventory seemingly okay on them. Mazda still is not selling very many, and sales are not good on those models. Let's go to the CX-5, their all-time best-selling vehicle. Again, check out my video with the new CX-5 in Japan. All right, it's up on the year. It had a downturn of 12% on the month. Are people waiting for the new CX-5? Is this just the market cooling off? Well, let's see. Let's see in my area. CX-5s, oh my gosh. There's 1,600 CX-5s. A great wife, she just delivered me breakfast. Eggs, sausage, and kimchi. Like, look at this. So excited. Oh my gosh. Am I gonna... Ooh, she cooked them perfectly too. My goodness. Thank you, love. Seasoned them perfectly too. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna need to take a time out real quick. So when the bestseller is down, when we're not seeing this sort of thing really with like its closest rivals like the CR-V and the RAV4, those sales are doing just fine. For the CX-5 to see this downturn is a bit worrisome. $2,000 price drops, $5,000. This is a $5,000 price drop here on the base model. Under $30,000 on a Mazda CX-5. It's made in Japan. This is an incredible deal. Wow. Okay, let's see. Like the turbo is about ready to go away. With the turbo right here, let's try to see, like, there's not that many turbos out there. I know it's maybe 20 to 30% take rate for the CX-5, maybe less. Okay, you're seeing discounts on the turbo. So if you want a luxury experience with a luxury powertrain with tons of torque and smoothness and a good sound, pretty engaging, CX-5 is pretty hard to beat. Okay, I just reviewed it. It's amazing. It's S tier. It's one of my favorite vehicles on the market, and you can get them for many, many, many thousands of dollars off of MSRP right now. The market's turning. Unless you're Toyota, sometimes Honda. If you're a dealer that's not those two brands, including Lexus, your inventory is swelling. People's buying power is gone. People are running out of money. Interest rates are still high. So this is kind of just the beginning of a market downturn. All right. It's going to correct itself. It's been so long, too long, where the power's been in the dealer's hands. A lot of these manufacturers have been making a ton of money, and Honda just came out and, well, most of Honda's issues and Ford's issues with profitability is due to their crazy investment into EVs when the market was not ready. They put the cart before the horse there, and they've lost billions of dollars, Ford and Honda with EVs. So we'll see what happens with them. But Mazda is one of the least electrified brands on the market. They're doing fine, but not anymore. And you would think, okay, well, EV tax credit's dead. Maybe that'll benefit companies like Mazda that don't have a lot of EVs. No, there's way more factors out there that's affecting Mazda and just the overall market. Sentiment not being the same as it was in the past 5 years. All right, CX50 up 33% on the year, up 7.5% on the month. So let's go back to availability. CX50 is 548. That's good, as well as CX50 hybrid. If you don't like the looks of the RAV4 hybrid, you don't want a Toyota, you'd rather have something a little bit nicer on the inside compared to the Toyota. Well, here's the CX50. It's using the Toyota hybrid system. Now, this is the 4th gen system that is being replaced, at least on the Toyota end, with the RAV4, with the 5th gen system that we see on the Camry, for example. When and if the CX50 will shift over to a 5th gen hybrid, I don't know. All right. In the meantime, the 4th gen's fine. It's bulletproof. It's efficient. It's just kind of loud, and there's not a lot of hybrid metrics inside of the CX50. Like, it won't tell you really, what the engine or the battery's doing. Okay, so there's less customization with the hybrid stuff here compared to a RAV4, but it's a prettier looking RAV4. I mean, look how good it is in just black here. Okay, I know that's a $40,000 premium trim. What's the lowest price we can get on a CX50 hybrid? Wow, they've dropped under 30 grand. They've dropped under 30 grand, best case scenario. This is like a $6 grand price drop. $6 grand price drop, absolutely insane. Okay, here's another $6 grand price drop. The prices and deals that you can get on CX50 hybrid are fantastic. Now, can I recommend the non-hybrid CX50? And the answer is absolutely. And there's a ton of availability, not only of the hybrid in my area, but also the non-hybrid. $6 grand price drop. Whether you want the hybrid or not, it looks like you can get 4, 5, 6 grand price drops on the CX50. Holy smokes. Wow. This is why the CX30 is dead, because we're seeing such big price drops on the CX50 and the CX5, and the availability of those is even better than the CX30. And it's just a better car overall. I think many of you would agree. All right. So better car for not that much more money, sometimes about the same amount of money compared to the CX30. And that's CX30 sales are just suffering. So let's get back to the sales report. Wow. Look at the CX70. Okay, it's sold an okay amount this year. Look, 12,000 units, which is more than... Actually, it's just more than the MX-5 because the Mazda 3 has sold more. The problem with the CX-70 is that it was a cheap and lazy way to make a two-row crossover. America wanted the CX-60, and we got the CX-70, which is just a two-row version of the CX-90. And it is not cheaper, really, than the CX-90. That's the problem with the CX-70. I wouldn't be surprised if the CX-70 gets discontinued. Look at this. It's down 86% on the month of October. They don't care to bring these things in right now. Again, these are built in Japan, and the volume must be, or at least the availability must be high. Not only the CX-70, the CX-90 as well. CX-90 is up 7%, but what happened here? It's down 60% on the month. At this rate, it will not beat last year's sales total. So let's go back to availability. CX-70, not very many in my area, but the demand for these things is also very low. CX-70, what kind of price drops? I know there's going to be price drops here on this model. Okay, here's a the 26s don't have price drops yet, but if you look at the 25s left over, maybe I should just put in 25 model year. Let's see here, 25. And here's a $3 grand price drop, $3 grand, $4 grand, $6 grand price drop. They're out there for this vehicle. It's not as high of a percentage of a discount compared to like the huge discounts you're seeing on the CX-5 and the CX-50. Okay, but the Mazda CX-70, big price drops despite the volume being really low on it. All right, let's get to CX-90 here. CX90 has way better availability, 276 versus the CX70's just 53. And the plug-in hybrid only 8. Okay, so let's see here. Are we really working with only 26s at this point? Pretty much looks like it. There's only 26s on the CX90. And as a result, you're probably not going to get discounts. Let's look at the plug-in hybrid. It's just so expensive. It's fine. I just reviewed one not that long ago, and it beat out. And I love the Mazda CX-9. It's not perfect. Sometimes the transmission isn't as predictable as you'd want it to be. And the ride quality and maybe the sound removal is not quite as good as some luxury buyers out there, but it is so fun to drive. It's unique. It's very nice. It's built really well out of Japan. So is the CX90 worth 50 some K as a plug-in hybrid? That's tough. I think I'd rather, here's the thing, that the transmission behaves better in here than it does in the inline six. But I need to drive in a more updated inline six CX90 to really come to that full conclusion. All right. So availability is not that great on the CX90. Okay. I think that's why the volume's down so much. Because if we go back to the CX90 here, look, these are all placeholder. Here's one that's on the ground. The rest of the images are placeholder. And the one that's on the ground has a almost a $2,000 price drop. Okay. So most of them are just in transit right now from Japan. Just availability on the ground is really low for the CX90. That's why the sales are in the gutter for it. It's not that there's also availability of the CX70 on the ground, but maybe not that. It comes out the same assembly line as the CX90 in Japan. So I think that's what's going on here. These two models down in volume as they switched over to the new model year. And I wouldn't be surprised, if they delayed the 26s coming out because of the leftover 25s that were selling at a really low rate at Mazda dealerships. All right, so they've kind of created their own demand or meeting demand a little bit more accurately where it's at with these 26 model years. I wouldn't put a fork in the 90 and the 70 as a negative year yet. But I mean, the 70, there's no way it'll have a negative year. Look, it's up 70% on the year. But what I'm saying is the CX90 could rebound and the 70 could rebound past, so November, December, because October was a bloodbath for them, seemingly maybe to clear out old inventory. I'm not quite sure. But overall, Mazda looks not good right now. It doesn't look like they're going to finish the year strong. The CX30 is not going to finish. The CX30 has traditionally, look at this, they're down 30,000 units versus last year. That is a problem. And there's no fix for it. There's no CX30 or CX3 coming out anytime soon that I'm aware of. New Mazda 3, not anywhere to be seen. Okay. And it's down a lot and it's not going to get better. So, I think we'll see. I think this October for Mazda is a bit of an anomaly, maybe as they're trying to focus on selling down 25 inventory and restricting 26 inventory. They have to be very strategic because they're so dependent on imports, meaning they're going to be hit with a ton of tariffs. So we're going to see weird numbers for Mazda. But if you want to buy a Mazda right now, getting a CX50 hybrid and a CX5, I know the new CX5 is coming, but getting those models, you can get them for many $4, $5, $6,000 discounts right now in some cases. Mazda, unlikely at this point to break last year's sales record, largely due to them having to really, really be careful with the tariff situation. And they have to be very strategic with how much volume they send to America, etc. So that explains Mazda being down so much. 26 model years of the 90 and the 70 aren't really in stock yet. They are also limiting exports from Mexico for the CX30 and the Mazda 3, all right, because of the high tariffs. but their best sellers, the CX-5 and the CX-50, don't hesitate. Now's a great time to buy. The new CX-5 is not heads and tails better than the old CX-5. In fact, the old CX-5 is better in more ways than not. Okay, and I don't even need to drive the new one to be able to say that. So I'm going to end it there. Mazda, they got their work cut out for them to finish the year strong. October maybe is an anomaly. We'll see. Stay tuned for more news updates here on the channel. You know, I was in Japan when these sales hit, which meant I couldn't get to them in a timely fashion. Honda, I did Toyota and Lexus, and that's probably where I'm going to end it until November, and we're back in the same boat again. I'll see you guys in the comments. Thank you for being here this long in the video. I really appreciate you guys. What do I have coming up on the channel? I got a few things coming. A Nissan event. Well, you know, I'm not doing anything for the LA Auto Show. I did get invites, but I turned them down kindly just because I've been traveling too much. All right, so I'm staying put for the rest of the month of November, and then early December, I'll have some Nissan stuff to share with you guys. All right. In the meantime, check out my interview with Nissan's CEO, Ivan Espinosa. What an amazing experience. It was a lot of fun sitting down with him. He's just like talking to a normal dude. It was awesome. And it was also great to be able to speak with someone in Japan without a language barrier, because most of the CEOs I know, like I think Mazda's CEO speaks pretty good English. I think his name is Masahiro Moro. His English is pretty good, but I didn't get a chance to talk with him. So I'm pretty sure, but my good friend David Chow did. So if you want to check out Automotive Press, he did travel with Mazda to Japan, and he has some more hands-on coverage and interviews and stuff with Mazda. All right, I got to shut it down. I'm blabbering a little too much. Have a great day, guys. Take care of yourselves, and peace.